Okay. Okay, so just switched on the recording. Share my slides. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final webinar of the series, Unlocking the Power of Scopus. Today, we will be talking about the world of Scopus APIs. And okay, it's not moving forward. So this is the scan code for the webinar homepage. We have done 4 webinars till now. This is the 5th one. We talked about Scopus profiles, about literature review, activity on Scopus, about journal metrics that can be accessed and assessed for your publication needs. And the new Scopus AI was introduced for the researchers. And today we talk about the world of Scopus APIs. So before we get into the session, people who do not know much about Scopus, let me kind of just give you an overview. So Scopus is the largest abstract and citation database, and there is a vast amount of data and matrix available on Scopus, which help you to evaluate the progress of your research and also the impact of your entire research ecosystem. The Scopus coverage is pretty comprehensive. It covers all subject areas like physical sciences, health sciences, social sciences, and life sciences. So although Scopus is a Elsevier flagship product, but it covers content from 7,000 plus publishers coming from 105 countries. So that gives you a very big overview of the research that is happening the world over. And the most important part of it is that Scopus, wait a minute. Yep. So Scopus is a curated database. So all the content that you are having on Scopus is peer-reviewed content, and it is vetted by our independent body of experts known as the Content Selection and Advisory Board. They comprise of international academicians who are experts in their own field, and there is a constant monitoring of all the journals that are there for their respective quality checks. And because of this constant evaluation of journals and maintenance of its quality in the Scopus database, it is considered as a gold standard by different ranking agencies, evaluation agencies. Some of them are sort of shown over here. These are quite representative ones, but the list goes on beyond this as well. Scopus, as you very well know, is used in different rankings. You must have heard of the Times Higher Education ranking, QS World ranking, Scimago Institution ranking. All of these, they use Scopus data exclusively. Closer home in India, our government ranking of NIRF uses Scopus data along with another database. So it's important that we are aware of all features of Scopus and how you can maximize its utilization for your and your institution's group. There are multiple features which are being updated on Scopus on a yearly basis so that your user experience is improved every time, and new features help you to get to your data much more easily and in a more succinct manner. So now we begin with our actual presentations of the day. I am happy to introduce to our first speaker of our day, Dr. Nabi Hasan. Most of you must already be knowing him. He's currently the head librarian at IIT Delhi and has earlier served as the university librarian at Aligarh Muslim University. He's the first Norman E. Borlaug Fellow from India, and he trained at Cornell University. Dr. Hasan has been honored with many awards, including FSLA, Engineering Librarian of the Year, Bonnie Hiddich International Librarian Award, Royal Society of Chemistry's Librarian Choice Award, Salis Dr. Harish Chandra, Sushila Chandra National Best Librarian Award, etc. He's currently also the president of the SLA Engineering Community and the joint chair of the 2024 SLA Annual Conference. He has published number of books and papers which are also indexed in Scopus. So we're truly honored to have him here to share his experience because IIT Delhi does a lot of work with Scopus APIs. And I would say he's one of the best persons to talk to you about his experience with APIs and what the library community and the researcher community can gain benefit out of it. So welcome, Dr. Hasan. Sir, you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shibra, for giving me this opportunity. Uh, Thank you, Kyle, for joining at such a early morning hour. It is 5 a.m. for you. So it is very difficult. I understand your difficulties and thank you for joining. I'm also grateful to the whole Elsewhere team, Nicholas and other friends from the Elsewhere for giving me this opportunity. So let me try sharing my screen. Okay, so I think I'm able to share my screen. Is
Yes,
it
sir.
visible,
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Shubhra?
sir.
Okay.
All good.
Yes. So if there are any issues, let me know. Otherwise, I will be going ahead with my presentation and I have to complete within given time as well. Okay. Thank you very much, audience, for joining this afternoon from this part of the world, and thank you, Kyle, for joining from US and also friends from the Singapore. So, friends, what I'm going to discuss, I will be discussing about the world of APIs, or I will be discussing in general about the APIs because many of the friends are not having understanding what are APIs and how these are working. So I will be touching some of the basic aspects of API. Then how in your daily life you are making use of API. I will be giving some real world examples. And finally, I will be sharing our experience of IIT Delhi, how IIT Delhi is making use of APIs and like how you can really get great information, uh, how you can do great visualization of the research work that you are doing, how you can present it in a better way, and how these Scopus APIs can help you in that regard, especially for ranking or maybe for accreditation or some other data analysis purpose. So these are my discussion points. I'm going to cover some of these important points quickly, like what is an APIs, different types, components, and data formats, how APIs work, what are the different errors that we can understand from those numbers, then some of the real world examples with the special reference to IIT Delhi. And finally, we will be talking about Scopus APIs and an app that has been developed by IIT Delhi, which is basically working with the help of Scopus APIs only. And on the basis of all these points, we will be concluding our today's presentation. So application programming interface, as you understand, is basically a set of rules that allows different computer systems here and there connected through, you can say, internet to communicate with each other. Or we can say that an API is like a set of rules that two different computer programs agree to follow for the mutual benefit, and they can talk to each other using APIs. One program is responsible for like sharing information, you can say publishing side. Another one is responsible for accessing side, and the company or the organization or the data that the company is holding provides access to that data through APIs. You can understand API with this very simple example. If you are going to a five-star hotel and you have entered to a restaurant, there are three entities. One is you who will be placing the order. Another one is waiter, and the third one is chef. So basically, this waiter is taking order from you and going to chef and asking the chef to prepare the order. It may be like name of the order, like butter paneer, or it may be the item number 15. And the chef prepares the order and serves the order to you. So in this simple case, the waiter is basically API, which is communicating between the customer and the chef and giving you back the prepared order. So I think this was very simple example to understand what API is. Then why APIs are important? APIs are important because of their interoperability aspect. They enable different systems to work together seamlessly. The developers can use APIs to integrate features without building from zero, from scratch. And scalability, APIs allows for the easy expansion of application and services. Mean you can add more application, more services using APIs. So these are three different type of APIs, and I think as far as the Scopus is concerned, we will be considering this under public APIs, where some of the information is available up to some extent freely, and then there are billable products out of Scopus. As far as the API, you can say just yeah. As far as the API protocol types are concerned, these are the important protocol that they are following, like SOAP, REST, RPC, GraphQL, and these are the organization examples. Those are using, like SOAP is being used by one of the organizations like Salesforce, or REST is by GitHub, RPC is by Google, and GraphQL by Facebook. And these are some of the purposes. So basically, there are three important components of APIs. One is endpoint, specific paths on a server where API requests are sent. Some of the most common API methods that we are using is get, post, put, patch, or delete. For example, in the OCLC catalog, if we need to delete a lot many records together, we can use this delete function of API. Then there is a body which contains data sent in request, especially for post and put. As far as the data formats are concerned, there could be many data formats, but there are two formats which are very popular. One is JSON format and another one is XML format. And these are used for different purposes. JSON is used, JSON is more popular because it is lightweight, it is easy to read and write as well. So this is another example how do APIs work. This was the example of like customer placing the order through the waiter to chef. In the same way, if you are requesting some information through API to a end server, this is the same way it is served to you. Like you are generating a API request and the information is going to the backend server, and the backend server is responding back to you with the answer using API. So what are the other benefits of API apart from like interoperability, scalability, or efficiency? Other examples include like automation. You can do repetitive job with the help of APIs. Innovation, public APIs can be used by external agencies and engineering teams as well. Then they are more secured transaction. If you like integrate it with blockchain, then they will become more secure as well. Then there is a cost efficiency as well. APIs provide access to useful third-party tools and infrastructure as well. These are some of the like error codes or status codes. Like if you are trying to access some information through APIs, if you are receiving some error codes like 200, 400, 401, or whatever has been given in on screen, you can understand what is the status of your request. Like if the code is 200, it means your request is successful and the server has returned the requested data. And if there are other errors like 408, the server timed out waiting for the request. This occurs when the client takes too long to send the request. So these are important messages which helps you understand the status of your uh, API request. So If we see the real world examples, for example, Uber or Ola, these uses Google Maps with the help of APIs for displaying the maps, calculate route, or provide location-based services. In the same way, Twitter or X developers use the X API to integrate tweets and other X functionalities. Stripe API is being used by e-commerce platforms to handle payments or to enable secure transactions. You might be listening to the songs using Spotify. So I think Spotify is also using API. It is able to identify your choices, your playlist, etc. Then the weather APIs like Open Weather Map, etc. They are also using API to display current weather conditions, forecasts, etc. And now you are able to log into many accounts using Facebook API or maybe using Scholar, Google Scholar, or you can say Orchid API. So now the latest version of Koha is API enabled. If you are just entering the ISBN number of the book here, it will fetch all the information from Google Books using API. So this is the screenshot from IIT Delhi. And in the same way, the patron in the new Koha version is able to get all the information about its account, like issue, return, and all other data like this one using Koha API. And this is a research data visualization dashboard by IIT Delhi, IIT Jodhpur. And they are able to uh, project real-time research data visualization dashboard. And this is possible in Scopus as well. This screen is from OpenLX. They are fetching the data from OpenLX using their API. But this type of presentation or visualization is also possible through Scopus API if you have access to Scopus API. I think Orchid APIs are becoming very popular now. We are able to log into different academic systems or sites or tool using Orchid API, and they are able to show you your real-time publications using API. For example, here you can see your publication, and you can also integrate it with different academic identities. For example, Scopus has been highlighted here for the purpose. IIT Delhi is using DSpace 7.6 version, which is a stable version. 8 version has also becoming stable. So I think DSpace has a provision for item search and other facilities where we can make use of APIs for fetching the data. And like IIT Delhi is using Summon Discovery Service, and there could be other discovery tools as well. So we have integrated all the different subscribed resources of IIT Delhi with the Summon Discovery, and the resources which are like allowing access through API. We are able to fetch the data, and user using single search box is able to fetch the data from journals, databases, and ebooks or our catalog or institutional repository in one click. And this is possible with the help of APIs only. But there are some products which are not allowing access through API. For example, SciFinder Scholar. So if the product is not allowing, then there is a problem. Otherwise, this is a good interface using API. For example, these type of faculty profiling system, we can integrate different academic identities. For example, Scopus identity, and these product like ITD, this IRNS, which is a project of Ministry of Education at InflabNet, can showcase all the real-time data of Scopus or other product like Google Scholar using API. So you are already using it. The only thing is sometimes you are not aware that you are actually using APIs. Apart from this, let's discuss about Scopus APIs. So you have to go to the developers portal. There are two types of users. They can access the Scopus API. One are non-commercial users, researchers in academics and public sector institution or charities. So these most APIs, except like SciWell and Embase APIs, are available for no charge for non-commercial use, subject to elsewhere's policies and limits on usage. Then there are commercial users as well, where the billable products are available. Means you can download, you can use large sets of data sets using Scopus API on payment as well. So if you want to use the Scopus API, you need to know some of the important things. Those important things are, yeah, those important things are like you need to know the base URL, the primary address or endpoint that serves the entry point for interacting with an API, it direct request to the appropriate server. Then you need to understand the argument, parameter or data values passed with API. Then you need to understand the request to specify action. You need to have one API key and then institute token. If you are able to make this type of search strategy with the help of like base URL, then argument, then request, and then this API key, and finally this token. You will be having all the data with you using Scopus API. So this is the Scopus API request developer portal, and the information that I have shown you in the previous slide is available here. You can make use of this developers portal, and you can request that I want an API key, and you can see the use cases as well. And there is a guide as well how to use the Scopus APIs. I think one of the most important use for us of Scopus API is ranking and other large data set that we require for like NIRF or QS ranking, because sometimes we are looking for information, but it is available like from like for calendar year, it is not sometime available from date to date. For example, in India, the financial year is from April 1 to 31st March. And also the large data sets are not available in the normal Scopus search. So here the Scopus API can help us getting the desired data for specific dates, and also it can get us the large data sets. And the QS ranking or NIRF ranking, they are using the Scopus data for ranking purposes. So in the same way, we are displaying this type of screen, which is updated on a regular basis, research publication data from Scopus. So we are like fetching the data from Scopus, and then we are like showcasing here on our IIT Delhi library website. And I think if you are using the Scopus directly, you may not be getting all the such data. And one of the important feature of like Scopus API is that you can showcase the publication of your institution, like current publication or upcoming publication with this type of interface using Scopus API. Then IIT Delhi has developed this portal or this website known as Shod Tantra. Dr. Mohit Garg in my institution in IIT Delhi Libraries, Assistant Librarian, has developed this using R. And this portal is basically working on Scopus APIs only. So the data is fetched from Scopus API. You can log in this way, and then you can see the dashboard of a faculty. For example, this is a faculty of management sciences, associate professor. Then you can also see annual distribution of publications and word cloud and also other things. But of course, the data is coming from Scopus only using API. I have a short video. I don't want to go live because I don't have that much time. So it is very simple. This portal is live. One can access directly. Like one can click on user and admin, and this here you are inside the portal. You can select the department. You can select the designation. You can select the relevant uh, author, and then with the help of Scopus ID, all the data can be sorry, all the data can be shown live this way. If time permit at the end of the like question answer, then we can go live as well. So I think this is very useful like application which has been developed by IIT Delhi known as Sodh Tantra on the basis of Scopus API only. So we have some understanding, some arrangement with the elsewhere people, and they have helped us in developing this portal. Not only developing this portal, but of course in fetching the data from the Scopus API. Some of the other uses of APIs are in other applications as well. For example, These can be used for integrated library service platform for integrating all of your library activity like library software, institutional repository, your e-resources, your databases, your reference management tools, and you can also custom your applications for mobile apps and discovery layers using APIs. You can enrich your data or metadata. You can also integrate images, reviews, and other resources. And you can enhance user experiences using APIs. Analytics and reporting is very important in APIs. It helps in data-driven approach, or it helps us in taking informed decisions. We can also access external collections using API, means other libraries collection may also be accessed. And event sharing using APIs of Facebook or X on Instagram is very useful for the libraries. And we can also make use of large data set uh, if we have like access to commercial Scopus APIs or other APIs databases. So with this, I would like to sum up that with AI-powered innovations, IoT, and blockchain enabling seamless integration across platforms, APIs are becoming more intelligent, secure, and user-friendly. APIs are revolutionizing libraries by enabling integration, enhancing our service qualities, helping us in taking data-driven decisions, and providing the building blocks for custom applications. As libraries continue to embrace APIs, we can expect to see that even more innovative use will be explored in future. So these are some of the references which refer to the different slides, and you can explore in these references in your free time if you want a deeper understanding about these slides or content. So thank you very much, Elsewhere, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Dr. Mohit, for developing this portal and helping me prepare this presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Shubhra.
Thank you so much, sir. You indeed made it in time, I would say.
Thank
Uh, so thanks a lot. That was a very, very comprehensive presentation. And I'm sure even people having not much background or understanding of APIs know a little bit about it now, thanks to your detailed presentation. And it's really, really very informative. Thank you so much, sir. I really bugged him. He made a very detailed one. He could have gone into, actually, it deserves 1 hour of its own, but unfortunately, our format is so I had to push him that, sir, we have to complete it in time. And he kept his word. Thank you so much, sir. And our next speaker, I am delighted to invite our colleague, Kyle DeFrancisco. Kyle is based out of US, and we are really thankful for him to join over here today. It's 5 a.m. in the morning for him, and most of us would have a brain fog at that point of time. We don't really work much to the best of our abilities, but Kyle is there all fresh and lively, I can see. Thank you so much, Kyle, for taking out your time. So let me just brief you about a little bit about Kyle. So Kyle currently is working in Elsevier. He's joined the Scopus team recently as the technical coordinator, focusing on Scopus APIs. Previous to this, he was working as a product coordinator for Plum Analytics within the research data platform. And prior to joining to Elsevier, Kyle has worked as the customer account specialist at EBSCO Information Services. So now I hand it over to Kyle to share how. Now, Dr. Hasan has already showed what can be done with Scopus AI. So now I'll request Kyle to show how to do it using the Elsevier technical offering that we have.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Hasan. That was very informative. I'm sure the audience found it very helpful. And thank you everyone for joining. As Subra had just mentioned, it is a little early for me, but no worries. I'm working on the first cup of coffee. So hopefully my brain fog is going to clear away as I begin speaking here. So I know we have limited time, so I'm going to have to jump in here because I do want to get through everything, including a live demonstration later on of the Elsevier Developer Portal. If you can just confirm that you can see my presentation at this time.
Not yet, Kyle.
One moment. Let's see here. This looks better. Just a second here. How about now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. Okay. So as we said, I'm going to be jumping over to the Scopus side of things, and what I'm going to cover today is, so why Scopus APIs? Why use them? How do Scopus APIs work? What are some of the common API use cases? I know Dr. Hasan showed a little bit. I will also show some additional ones, including some real-world examples as well at the end. But most importantly, we're going to get started in that Elsevier developer portal. That's how you're going to get an API key, and I'll show you some of the how-to guides and some of our technical training guides. So I know there was a few questions already in the Q&A box. Hopefully I can address some of those during my presentation, and if we have any time at the end, I can certainly direct you to the proper location. But that Elsevier developer portal is going to be very important, and it's going to cover a large portion of my presentation today. So why Scopus APIs? The Scopus APIs allow the integration of Scopus content and data into external websites and applications. Scopus APIs expose curated abstracts and citation data from all scholarly journals, books, and conferences indexed by Scopus. Scopus captures citations and abstracts from virtually all scholarly journals, and its profiling of authors and institutions make it easy to find new articles by those authors and institutions via the Scopus user interface. So the Scopus API is the bridge that offers the same features as the UI, but with the results in a machine-readable format that connects to your software. What your software gets back isn't really readable from the humans, but it's more intended for computers to parse, manipulate, and compute on. It allows developers to write programs that automatically extract data from Scopus and add that to your library systems or applications. As Dr. Hasan had mentioned, there's certainly a level of technical knowledge required to use and implement these. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, so just be aware that you may have to work with a technical team, or if some of that is outsourced to a third party. To get these implemented, you may need some further assistance. So to support a wide range of use cases, Scopus has several APIs. 8 are designed to retrieve metadata, content, metrics, and other data from specified Scopus document, author profiles, and affiliation profiles. The remaining 3 enable searches within the Scopus body of abstracts, author profiles, and affiliation profiles. So here are all 11 Scopus APIs that are available today. There's a brief description of each under the description column. As you can see that some APIs do have more than one view in which the responses are returned. I'll give you just a second here to browse over these, but I will show you later in the live demonstration portion where you can find these descriptions. So don't feel like you have to memorize everything here. Some of these use cases you can read up on your own time in the developer portal, as well as our Getting Started guide. So looking into some of the more common use cases, they do range from simple to more complex, as you can see based on the chart here. So authors can show Scopus publications on their webpage, or an institution can showcase institutional output. Another is to show Scopus cited by accounts on a website. An example would be an online CV. A more complex use case would be to showcase metrics on an author or journal and use that data for analysis of institutional performance. Federated search allows libraries to implement a single search box that searches across all digital assets. And you can use the Scopus API to populate CRIS systems like Pure, or institution repositories like Digital Commons. And as you can see in the API column there, Multiple APIs can accomplish various tasks. Typically, some of the data that's provided via the API overlaps across multiples. So I'll show you in just a second here how you can test some of this data ahead of time before you go ahead and develop any applications. We have some interactive API features on our developer portal that can show you what you'll retrieve via the APIs ahead of time. Authentication is always an important question here, and I think one of the QA questions that we got already was regarding, I think it was a 403 error. Typically, you see these errors, the 403 error specifically with an authentication issue, but users gain access based on their computer or site IP address. Your institutional IP address will be the same range registered with Elsevier to access the Scopus user interface. You can authenticate using your API key as an HTTP request header that's recommended for security purposes, or within a request URL. In the case of the 403, if your institution is a subscriber and you're still receiving an error message using the API key, it's possible that you fall outside that IP range of your institution. Maybe you work remotely, or you're a third-party vendor. Institutional tokens are available if you can't be IP authenticated due to its remote locations. Later on in my demonstration, I'll show you how to contact us. You can contact our support team and we'll work with you to get an institutional token so you can resolve that error. Another big question is there any limits or how much data can you use? As you can see, the rate limits do vary depending on the API and how much data you can use on a weekly basis. The developer portal I'm going to jump into here in just a second will also show you these details. So don't feel like you have to read through all of this as well. I will show you how to locate this on your own in just a moment. But just note that all of these quotas and rate limits are reset on a weekly basis. So the developer portal, the rest of my presentation really is going to be focused on a live demonstration of how to navigate that portal, get your API key, and see some use cases, play with that interactive API, and as I said, how to contact our data as a service support team to help you in any way that we can. So let me go ahead and exit this presentation and begin within the developer portal. I believe you still should be able to see my screen. Is that correct? Can I just get a confirmation?
Yes, Guy.
Okay, great, thank you. So here is Elsevier's developer portal. This website, most important, is dev.elsevier.com. The website, all the information on here is free to access with or without a subscription. You can come in here and read all about the API. We have so much information. There's one thing to note here, this is not specific to just Scopus. So be aware as you're reading through some of the details that you may see some information regarding other Elsevier products. Obviously, we're going to focus on Scopus today, but I just don't want to confuse anyone. Elsevier has multiple APIs for other products as well. So, but first and foremost, I know this is a question I believe we've already gotten in the QA box, is how to get started and how do you implement this. The first step is going to be getting an API key, and Dr. Hasan had explained that as a little bit as well in the earlier presentation. You click on the I want a API key button. I'm already recognized here. As I said, IP authentication, et cetera, is recognized here from your institutional subscriptions. So it auto recognized me. If you weren't recognized, you'll have the option to sign in. So don't stress if the screen looks a little different for you. Once you do log in, you will see you may not have any API keys. I already have a few here. But this button here is what you'll want to start with, is create an API key. From here, you'll be asked to fill out these two labels and a website URL. This isn't anything official. It's not anything that Elsevier is going to need to approve, or so this is for your own label purposes, assuming that you need potentially more than one API key. one API is specific for one application, so can't be reused with a different application. So it's possible that you need more than one API key. This is more for your own organizational purposes. And as I said, it's nothing that Elsevier will have to approve. You can create however you write and type however you'd like it. Once you fill in those two options, you'll have to agree to our API service agreement. Read through that. Provisions down here, you'll also have to read and agree to. One thing to note here is you can download both of these as a PDF format if you do have to provide that to your security team or your networking department. I know that does sometimes need to be required. But once you agree to these, click the agree. You want to click on submit. And as I said, I already have this created, so I won't go ahead and fill another one. So if we go back to, you'll automatically be redirected to the screen. You'll see you've received your API key right here. It's that simple. It's very, very straightforward. And in just a matter of seconds, you can have your API key. And if you're all set up with applications or your technical team, and you already have your plan in place, you can begin pretty much immediately. So that's how you get the API key. But now that you have the API key, there's so much information here that we want to quickly go through. I'm going to go back to the home page of the Elsevier Developer Portal by clicking on the top left-hand logo. And I'm going to go ahead and click in this default API key settings. This is similar to that slide I showed you earlier in terms of how much data can you get. As I said, you can reference these on your own time, but you will see that chart that I had. Just note, as I said, there's more Elsevier products in here, so make sure you're just clicking and aware of what you're reading is relevant to the product that you're certainly trying to work with. So that is the default API key settings. Next, I want to go to products. Click on products, and here you go. Again, be careful. We're going to be working with Scopus, obviously, today. And this is sort of your product Scopus API dashboard, if you will. There's on the About Scopus API page, you're going to see some basic Q&A questions. It may be helpful to you if you're not very familiar. I know Dr. Hasan did a great job explaining some of the more entry-level questions, etc. But you can get some benefits as well if you were curious. But most important on this About Scopus API tab is the Getting Started Guide for Scopus APIs. I highly, highly recommend immediately clicking into here, either before or after you get that API key, because this is sort of the not the holy grail, I don't like to use that word, but this is really the great guide of getting started with the Scopus APIs. 63 pages. It's a very, very detailed. A lot of work has gone into this, and we do plan on putting some updates into this soon. But there's some things I want to highlight in this particular guide. I won't be going through it all. We don't have enough time. You have some introductory, some stuff. This is one thing that I wanted to point out. So you'll look and find this familiar based on my presentation. This is all 11 Scopus APIs that are available and the descriptions, similar to that slide, as I said. So if you were curious and you wanted to read through some of the descriptions or use cases, this would be the great place to start and really get some of the basics and understandings of what you can do with the Scopus APIs. Scrolling down, we'll see the authentication, similar to that slide as well. This is that institutional token I had mentioned before. So if IP authentication is providing an error, it's possible that you may need an authentication token to bypass that error if you're accessing from an IP range outside of the institution. If we keep scrolling down, you'll start to get the response, the requests and the response. Dr. Hasan had mentioned this and what those mean. Here is the rate limits again, so you can find this in another location and reference that for your own knowledge. I don't want to scroll through a bunch of pages, but I do want to jump to an example and show you what you can see here in this guide. So I'm just jumping to page 23. This is example 10. We have many, many examples of what you can accomplish in example of examples on how to use the APIs. So in this example, we're looking at the Scopus Author Search API. It does tell you the intent is to retrieve the Scopus author profile, including metadata, with the Scopus author ID. So the request URL, now this is being communicated between computers, remember. This is, if you put this in the address bar of your web browser, it's not going to give you anything that we can compute on. This is intended for interpretation from computers. So the request is going to the API, Elsevier API. We're querying the author ID. And what the response you're going to retrieve is, I know this is very difficult to understand, but we can really pick out a few things that are recognizable to us, including the Scopus URL directly to the author profile. In this, you're going to get the EID, author ID, all the name information, including initials. So a lot of the metadata that can be found in author ID, author profiles will be returned. Everything that you get within the UI, you get returned here within the API. Scrolling down further, some additional name information, document count, subject area abbreviations. I was trying to take a quick peek at the Q&A box briefly, and I'm not sure if somebody had asked about that, but subject areas are able to be retrieved via this API, as well as some affiliation information. I know that was also a question, I believe, collaboration of top institutions. So you can certainly retrieve affiliation information for this through APIs as well. So I won't go through too many, but I will scroll back up and you can see some other intent and some examples here as well. We're going to go back, jumping over to use cases. This isn't use cases in regards to intent. You saw those within the user guide. This is more for the intended use in terms of policy information. So there's a brief explanation here. If we click into Cited by Scopus, for an example, you'll just find a detailed policy. It's basically the parameters that you should abide by when you're using the API. Next is going to be the interactive Scopus API feature. And I will click here. So we have a number of the Scopus APIs that are available for you to try and run an actual live test and see what you get for response. For today, I'm going to use the Scopus search. I'm going to jump to another tab because I don't want to hit a rate or quota limit that I've been talking about so much. Before the presentation started, I jumped in here and was able to successfully run a request and get results. So I wanted to use that without having to have any issues during the live presentation here. So we're running a search within the Scopus search API. As you can see, the parameters here. You can change these if you'd like on your own time, but for today, this is just the default settings. So we're looking for all articles, all titles that have the word gene in it. And I click the try it out button. And this is basically the request and response. So similar to what I just showed you in the user guide, the request is calling the Elsevier API. We're searching for gene, and here is my API key. The API said, yes, you are granted access, and we were able to find results for gene, and it returned a response. And there's a number of things here that I'll quickly go through to see to show you what you can get from this particular API more in a live demo fashion here. So first and foremost is that total results. So for gene, it's returning a total number of results there. Scrolling past some technical details here, we get to the first record. As you can see, we do have title. EID I skipped over, but we do have title. You do a creator name, which is the first author, publication name, where it's from, ISSN, EISSN, volume, all the metadata information here, as you can see. You do get dates. So I believe another Q&A question that we had seen is, can you query dates? The API does return dates, and then you're able to perform searches based off of that data. That's where a little bit of the technical knowledge comes in. Developers and application, developers and coders can certainly query a lot of the data that the API returns to create a vast variety of use cases. But continuing on, as you can see, you get identifiers such as a DOI. You have affiliation name. You get open access information as well. So just a lot of information, and this is just another record here as well. So this is something really helpful. I would suggest to come in and play with on your own time. If you're just getting started and you don't have any applications developed, or you don't really have a plan in place on how to use the API, I would highly suggest coming in here and just playing around with this and see what you can do. It's helpful to use that user guide with this side by side, because it does give you other examples on how to implement and add date ranges to these search queries, etc. So it's very nice to come in here and play. This feature is very helpful, I find. Quickly going through what I have remaining here. This is the Scopus API specifications. As you can see here, it's all 11 Scopus APIs. If you click into any of these, basically what this is going to get, it's going to get into real technical stuff. It's going to get to some of those error messages, or some of the parameters, some of the field names, and some of the descriptions of all those. So again, just so much information that we just don't have time to go through, but it's all here to reference for you, freely available for you. Let's see, what else did I have? Really quick, I just wanted to show you where our how-to guides are. These will help you getting started once you already determined a plan in place, and we may have some information to help you get started if you don't have a large technical knowledge base. So the how-to guides are located in the Start Coding. Click on How-to. And as you can see, as I said earlier, there is multiple products in here, so just be careful. But if you do just click on one, it'll give you some technical information on how to get started there. One other thing is our examples. It's in the same exact tab, Start Coding, Examples. Similar, this gives you an example of, we're looking at cited by. This shows you a button that you can implement on your web page or your repository within. This shows you a cited by, how many times it's been cited by. And when you click on that button, it would automatically redirect you to the documents that it's cited by for that title. So it gives you the code there. Obviously, you'd have to use your own API key, but just an example of a very basic task you can accomplish using the Scopus API. Let's see, the only other thing in the developer portal that I want to show you really quick is this Contact Us. I had already mentioned it in the QA box as well. If you're having any issues, or you want to reach out to us with the use case questions, this Data as a Service Support Center is very, very helpful. There's some information in here. Again, not always Scopus specific, but most important, scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll find the email button. If you click on that email button, this is a form that you'll want to fill out and click submit, send your question rather. One of our team members, we have a whole team that's dedicated to the API, and they're very good. If we can't get you the answer, we will certainly find one of our internal Elsevier technical colleagues to assist you. So I do highly recommend you reach out to us if you have any questions at all. I do just want to take one additional minute here to show you what else other external customers have real world examples that I can quickly demo for you. I know Dr. Hasan showed how they use it. I just wanted to show you some other examples as well. So this is the University of Hong Kong. This is the HKU Scholar Hub, which is basically their repository. We're looking at an article publication record here. And what they've opted to do is use the citation API to display the citation count directly within the repository. As you can see for this article, there's 24 Scopus citation counts. And if you click on that 24, it links directly out to that article, and we can confirm that there's 24 documents citing it within Scopus. So that's one way that another external party has been using the Scopus API. This is another one really quick, is the National Repository of Portuguese Institutions. They've placed an image of Scopus showing that this particular title is published, indexed in Scopus. They've placed it within their author profiles. If you click into the specific title, they've also added an indexing option here, shows where it's indexed, and it also links directly out to Scopus. Lastly is the affiliation API that they've used, the same institution. National Repository of Portuguese Institutions. They've been able to use the affiliation API to find all of the publications indexed in various sources. So as you can see, there's more than just Scopus here. So they've been able to pull that information and show what percentage of publication share from various sources. There's a little bit of a bar graph that you can benchmark down here. So if we just deselect a couple and just say do Scopus versus Crossref, you can see details there. This is across their entire repository and not specific to any one researcher, but it's all researchers affiliated with their national repository of Portuguese institutions. So I know we're running out of time and we want to have saved just a few minutes here for questions. So I will leave you with that. And I do appreciate your time. I really do. And I hope you found it helpful. Most importantly, if we didn't get to any of your questions, please go to the Elsevier developer portal at dev.elsevier.com. Click on the top right side to reach the support team. And remember, down the bottom is that email button. And that's how you can reach us. And thank you for your time. Subra, back to you. I'm sorry I went a little bit over there.
Thank you, Kyle. But I guess it's all good because most of the questions that were coming in through the Q&A box, you seem to have answered all of them. So
That's good.
the time, yeah, we made that. So that's good. So because we did receive questions on subject classification, if subject-specific publications we can get. Somebody had asked about NAS rating, which is linked to agriculture. So although NAS rating is not from Elsevier, so we will not be able to give you information on that, on the rating perspective, but you could look at agriculture publications using the APIs. And also there was something about collaboration. So that also you showed in your example that you could look at which institutes the affiliations are working with, so they can pull out that data as well. So I think most of the questions have been answered. Dr. Hasan has been kind to answer a few of them as well. I do see one question, and that seems to be one of the very generic ones, and which comes to everybody's mind who is not so technically savvy, is if we are working on APIs, do we need developers to develop the web page or get that data? So what I understand is, will a researcher be able to do it themselves, or they should get in touch with their IT people at the university and take their help? What will be the easy way? I would ask Kyle and both and Dr. Hasan as well. How do they do that?
So, yeah, may I?
Yes, sir, please.
So I think Dr. Mohit has recently developed this portal using R, and all the data of the faculty members has yet not been integrated. It's a just experiment by him as of now. So I think it is there is no need to develop any portal, and there is no need to to have some technical expertise. If you have API key, then of course you can have that data with you, and you can make use of that data for the particular purpose. Like many of these screens that I have shown you, like including your recent and upcoming publication, if you want to showcase using Scopus API, that is possible. There is no need to develop any portal or such thing. So I think, for example, for ranking purposes or for the Ministry of Education, Government of India, if we need the data from April 1 to 31st March, so I think we can get that data using API, and there is no need to develop any portal, any such thing. There is no technical expertise required. Am I right, Shubhra?
Yes, sir. So actually, there is no specific need to develop a portal. It depends on the use case of your data. What do you want to do with it? So do you want to, like, you also showed some examples. Kyle also shared some examples. Like if you have an institutional repository, you already have a repository, and you want to pull in the citation results of your publication. So where do you get that? So you pull it out from Scopus using APIs. Or one of the examples showed was like you want to put something on your website that these are the publications that have come out of the university, or these are the latest publications coming out of the university. So you can link it to your website portal. Or if you're doing your own bibliometric analysis, you can just pull it out in an Excel format, as Dr. Hasan mentioned, and then you could do your further analysis in that. So you have a lot of data coming together at one go, rather than manually getting it. So it completely depends on your use case. Kyle, would you like to add something over here, or Nick, or Nathan?
Yeah, I agree with everybody. And I think you made a good point there. It depends on your use case. As I showed at the end, and just like Dr. Hasan had showed, there's some real complex use cases here, and you can do some really creative stuff that would certainly require a certain level of technical knowledge. But as I showed, that cited by button, that's just a simple copy and paste, HTML code. It may or may not be technical depending on your level of expertise. But as Subra said, if there's an institution repository involved, sometimes they can assist you as well. This is a very common thing, and we have partners everywhere. So don't feel like you have to do it alone, but if you feel like taking it on, it shouldn't be too difficult for you at the basic level.
Don't be afraid to go to the developer portal to explore, to take a look at the use cases, and don't be daunted by how complex it may seem, because when you start actually doing it, it becomes a lot more straightforward, and we'll be around to support and assist you. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any queries with regard to the use case that you're looking to implement. We'll be more than glad to support.
Thanks, Nick. So related to this only, there is another question. Is there a detailed video course on how to use Scopus? So actually, for the APIs part, Kyle had already shown it, and Nitin has posted the link to the developer portal and the user guides, so you can get a better view of that. And for the tutorials of Scopus, maybe we can post a link of that as well, how you use Scopus. So we can share that link as well. So it's not that very difficult to do. We are over time, but maybe I'll just take one last question. Okay, so there is one question which says, we can see multiple articles and research paper topics specifically on Elsevier. I am assuming you're meaning to say Scopus. Is it open to all students, or any subscription is required? So Scopus is, of course, a subscribed product, but for the APIs, like Dr. Hasan has mentioned, and maybe Kyle will explain a little bit more details, few of the APIs are free to use, but the rest come complimentary if you take subscription to Scopus. Because, of course, if you don't have the platform, then what are you going to fetch the data from, right? So because API is just a bridge, as they both mentioned, to pull the data out. So you would need the platform for that. But few APIs are given out free, right? Right, Kyle? There are few APIs which are free.
Yes, there is a few. It's very limited, but there are a few that are free, and all that information is found on the Elsevier developer portal, dev.elsevier.com. You can find out all those details. It does explain that. But as Subra had said, the API is the bridge between Scopus user interface, where we're talking about the API specifically today. But if you're talking about the interface, that's a little bit different. But if you're talking about the API, go to dev.elsevier.com. You can find out those details.
So Nitin has already posted the link in the chat. Please use that link to access the portal, and in a very lucid manner, everything is explained. It should be self-explanatory to you. And in fact, the tutorials are also available in the help section. So that should be helpful as well. So with that, I would wrap up the session for today. The recording will be shared with you tomorrow. An email from Zoom will go out with the recording as well as the certificate details. So don't worry about it. And The previous recordings will also be shared with you in the same email. And very soon we will be having a Elsevier page coming up, wherein we will be posting all these recordings which you can access at a later stage as well, which will be helpful to you. And as Kyle mentioned, you can reach out to the data support team if you have any queries. If not, then reach out to your coordinators, to your librarians, and through them, we will help you get your queries resolved. So thank you, Dr. Hasan. Thank you so much, Kyle, for sparing your valuable time and immense knowledge with our audience here today. And thanks a lot to Nick and Nitin for helping us manage the queries coming in.
Thank you very much. In fact, I learned a lot during the process of preparing PPT because basically an administrator and a library professional, but I think I was not the technical guy, but I think I could understand a lot about APIs and Scopus APIs. And I think we will be able to make better use of Scopus APIs, and we'll be able to guide more people because IIT Delhi is an institution where a lot of librarians and other professionals
Absolutely.
are for seeking guidance. And I think it will help us to educate more people to make
Absolutely,
use
sir.
of APIs. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and thank you elsewhere for giving this opportunity. And I think recording will help us to really understand and explore these APIs further. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for
Thank you,
having me.
everyone. Thanks a lot, Carl. Thanks a lot, Dr. Nabi.
Thank you all.